Okay, so let us continue the discussion of the topic on the topic place of supply. If you remember, the place of supply topic helps in two things. First, in case of domestic supply, it helps me in telling whether the supply is interstate or intrastate. Second reference, when any supply, whether domestic or interstate, when we know that the supply is interstate or intrastate, whatever is the case, then it also helps me in telling which state gets the revenue or which state has the jurisdiction to get 50% share, because 50% share always goes to the central government. So this is the relevance of place of supply. There are 5 sections which we will discuss in this place of supply. Section 11, section 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14 of the IGST Act. 10 and 11 talks about supply of services, 12 and 13 talks about 10 and 11 talks about supply of goods, 12 and 13 talks about supply of services, and 14 talks about OIDAR, Online Information and Database Access Retrieval Services. Till today we have covered in detail section 10 and 11, which talks about supply of goods. In section 10, domestic supply of goods were covered, and in section 11, international supply of goods were covered. Similarly, in section 12, domestic supply of services is covered, and in section 13, international supply of services is covered. I have given you an idea of section 12 in the last lecture, and now let me start discussing this section 12 in detail. If you remember section 12, then what it says that section 12 has to be applied when location of supplier as well as the place of the location of recipient is in India. When both these locations are in India, then you have to apply section 12 as far as services are concerned. When location of supplier is in India as well as location of recipient of service is in India, you have to apply section 12 to check which is the state which has the jurisdiction to get the tax revenue. That means place of supply. Section 13 will be used when there is an international supply of services. So that I will discuss later on. So one thing is sure that in section 12, it is necessary that supplier as well as recipient, both these locations are in India. This is what which is necessary in section 12. Now let me start discussing through my notepad what is section 12 all about. POS means place of supply of services. Domestic supply, international supply. Section 12 of the IGST. And now I am discussing for the time being section 12. In the last class, I have shown that there are section 12 subsection 3 to section 12 subsection 14. There were 12, if you count by number from 3 to 14. There are 12 specified services which have their own rules of place of supply. And remaining is residuary, which is written in section 12. 2. So this is residuary case. There may be hundreds and lakhs of services which can be supplied, but there are 12 special services which have their own rules to check place of supply of those services. Any service where the supplier as well as the recipient is in India, and if that service is not covered in these 12 categories, then by default I will call that service as a residuary service, and I will apply section 12 subsection 2 to determine the place of supply. So domestic supply is of course when location of supplier plus location of recipient, when both are in India. I hope the point is clear. Now let me share with you the act now, and then I will start assuming examples of different subsections of section 12. Let me share with you the IGST Act again. Again means I have already shown that in the earlier lecture also, but let me show you this again. I hope it is visible. Only tell me if not visible, otherwise I am assuming that it is clearly visible. Now this is my section 12 of IGST Act, place of supply of service where location of supplier and recipient is in India. I have discussed subsection 1 in the last class where it simply tells you that you have to determine place of supply as per these provisions. That's it. So let me start from one, my first specific service. And that service is related to immovable property. Immovable property. Now what is that? Now this is my section 12 subsection 3. Section 12 subsection 3. The place of supply of services, clause A, directly in relation to an immovable property. Any service which relates to immovable property. Now what is that? Including services provided by architects, interior decorators, surveyors, engineers, all these people work to develop an immovable property. And other related experts or estate agents, property dealers, any service provided by way of grant of rights to use immovable property. That means when you give your property for some rent, for example, for 7 months, that service is also covered under this section 12 subsection 3. Or for carrying out or coordination of construction work. Not only this, clause B, by way of lodging accommodation by a hotel, inn, guest house, homestay, club or campsite in hilly areas nearby rivers. Normally there are temporary structures and that is night stay in a camp. So that is known as campsite. By whatever name called, and including a houseboat or any other vessel. So when I am saying that immovable property, technically doesn't mean you have to understand the structure of this immovable property, but is the real intention of the act is. So many times this property is located on any movable vessel like houseboat. In Kerala, people go and spend the nights in houseboats where boat may be movable, but the accommodation which is on the boat, that is static, for example. So the intention is you should not always think that property cannot be moved. The intention is accommodation in a property, in an immovable property. That immovable property may be located on any vessel which can be moved. So still if it is a houseboat, you cannot move the accommodation, you can move the boat. I hope this structure which I want to say is clear, or the intention of mine is also clear. So whether you construct a house, whether you are giving any charges to the surveyor, engineer, interior decorator, or if you are not constructing your own house, you are living in any accommodation, any hotel, that is also covered here. Not only this, if you are organizing marriage functions in this house, so many vatikas are there where you go and attend the marriage function, that service is also covered here. By way of accommodation in any immovable property for organizing a marriage or reception or matters related thereto. But one thing is sure that in whatever marriage function is this, it is by way of accommodation in an immovable property. For example, you have booked a hotel, 100 rooms in a hotel for some marriage function, that will be covered here. by way of accommodation in any immovable property for organizing any marriage or reception or matters related thereto, official functions, social functions, cultural functions, religious functions, business functions, including services provided in relation to such function at such property. Now, so many times to organize any conferences, a conference hall is booked in a hotel. That is also a service which is included in this section 12 subsection 3. Or any other services related to above main three services. So whatever is that? In that case, what is the place of supply? The Act says it shall be the location at which, you can see the Act, my highlighted text. It shall be the location at which the immovable property or boat or vessel, whatever is the case, is located or intended to be located. Is located or might be located in the future. So that means maybe the property will come into existence after some time. However, there is an exception where the place of supply does not depend upon the location of that property. So Act says provided. What do I mean by provided? That there is an exception. That in one case, you cannot take the decision on the basis of location of the immovable property. And that exception is that if the location is outside India, if the location of the immovable property or boat or vessel is located or intended to be located outside India, the place of supply shall be the location of the recipient. The place of supply shall be the location of the recipient of services. Now let me simplify this with the help of the examples. Now let me again share with you my notepad. So I am discussing with you my first services. Services related to accommodation. Services related to accommodation. Now, which services are covered in this accommodation? You can say accommodation. My first point was services related to estate agents or engineers, etc. So you can say accommodation in a hotel, guest house, etc. Then services which are directly related to the accommodation, which are services of interior designers, surveyors, etc. Then accommodation in any property for the purpose of marriage, reception, official function, social function, etc. These services are covered. Now, what is the place of supply? That is the main question. What is the place of supply in such services? Your place depends on what? Your place of supply of services depends upon what? Depends upon the location of the property. Vessel, oblique, houseboat, whatever is the case, the location matters. So if the location if location is in India, or you can say not location, if immovable property is located in India or intended to be located in India, whether already located or might be located in future. If it is in India, then the answer is the location of the property. If located or intended to be located outside India, located or intended to be located outside India, then I will check location of the recipient of service. Then I will check location of the recipient of service. Now example. So my first example. Mr. X, architect, a renowned architect, and Mr. Y, who is from Telangana, this person has a house in Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. So Mr. Y has taken the services of this architect not for his house of Telangana, but a house of his which is in Tamil Nadu. Do you know what is the place of supply? Assuming Mr. X is from New Delhi, Mr. Y Telangana. So both the supplier is in India, recipient is in India. Is in India means not physically available. Location is in India. But the property is in Coimbatore. Now, is the property in India? Answer is yes. Then the answer is not of the recipient. The place where recipient is there. No, answer is the location of property. So place of supply is Tamil Nadu, and Tamil Nadu government will get the 50% share from the value given to this architect for this service. Next example. Same case, Mr. X. Now Mr. X is in New Delhi, but construction is in construction business. Okay, construction contractor. Mr. Y, Telangana. Wants, now he doesn't have any house, but he wants to have a house in Noida, UP. He wants to have, right now he don't have any house in Noida, UP. He wants to have, and he has had this construction contractor for this. Now what is the place of supply? UP. So in this case I have applied the concept intended to be located. Though it was not in existence, but it is, the intention is that the property will be built in UP. So UP becomes the place of supply. Next example. Say Mr. X, New Delhi. Construction. Same Mr. Y, Telangana. Now he wants to have his property in Dubai. He wants to have his property constructed in Dubai. Now, what is the place of supply? Can you tell me what is the place of supply? Supplier in India, recipient in India, property intended to be located in Dubai. So, what is the place of supply? Any answer? What is the place of supply? What should it? Where the property is located outside India or intended to be located outside India, then this is not the place of supply. Then I will check the place where the recipient is located. Telangana becomes the place of supply. And this government gets the revenue, though you are constructing the property in Dubai. But no, you have to pay the tax, even though property is in Dubai. I hope the point is clear. Now let me start with my next service. So I have covered accommodation service. Next service is related to restaurant. Beauty treatment. Cosmetic surgery, etc. So again, let me show you the act. I forgot to tell you one more point, so let me go back to my earlier service. I forgot to tell one additional point. So let me first discuss that. So many times what happens that, so I'm not discussing this for the time being. So I'm continuing the same point, same service. So many times what happens that location in more than one state or UT comes. Then what do you do? For example, I have hired a houseboat. I have hired a houseboat in Kerala. This is my houseboat where I am staying. This is the accommodation and it's in Kerala. But maybe it has crossed the boundary of Kerala. Maybe it has crossed the boundary of Kerala. And for some days it was in the coastal water of Tamil Nadu also. So it's Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Maybe for some days, the two states, this houseboat will move in two states. I hope you are getting my point. Where the location is more than one state obliquity, then how do you check the place of supply? Will the place of supply be in Kerala or Tamil Nadu? Then the answer is that place of supply will be in both these states. You can say in each of these states. Each of the state obliquity depending upon the proportionate value of supply. Like if the total value of this houseboat is 6 lakh rupees for 5 days and 5 nights stay, 5 days and 5 nights stay, 6 lakh is the value. And for 3 days, the boat was in Kerala and for 2 days the boat was in Tamil Nadu, then we will divide it proportionately. So 6 lakh to be divided in the ratio of 3:2, and I will get 3 lakh 60 for Kerala and 2 lakh 40 for Tamil Nadu, and on this basis I can say that the place of supply for rupees 3 lakh 60 will be Kerala. On this value, Kerala government gets the revenue, and on 2 lakh 40,000, the Tamil Nadu government will get the revenue. That's it. I hope the point is clear. And now I am proceeding to my next slide, restaurant beauty treatment services. Etc. So now let me share with you the act. Subsection 4. The place of supply of restaurant and catering services, personal grooming, fitness, beauty treatment, health service including cosmetic and plastic surgery shall be the location where the services are actually performed. Where the services are actually performed. So let me again give you the examples. Where the services are actually performed. So what is the place of supply? The place where the services are actually performed. Example. I am in New Delhi. I am in New Delhi. Mr. X. I have gone to Punjab, Amritsar. Just to have dinner in any restaurant. Maybe Punjabi lassi, paratha, North Indian diet. So whatever is the charge of that restaurant, so whatever is the GST in that, the place of supply for that will be Amritsar, Punjab, and Punjab government will get the revenue. Okay, so Mr. X has consumed or took a restaurant service in Punjab, so Punjab government gets the revenue. Another example. Mr. X, Mumbai, a renowned makeup artist. A renowned makeup artist. Mr. Salman Khan, a renowned Bollywood actor. For example, he is shooting. For example, Mr. Khan is shooting in Kashmir. Gulmarg is a place. In Kashmir, Mr. Khan is shooting in Kashmir, and for some beauty treatment, for some facial services, for hair services, whatever is the case, Mr. X has gone to Gulmarg, Kashmir, and 8 lakh is the charge. Now, location of supplier is in Mumbai. Location of recipient is also in Mumbai. But for this service, location of supplier and recipient doesn't matter. The place of supply is the place where services are actually performed. Kashmir is the place of supply. Kashmir government will get the revenue. This is the place of supply. So it's an example only. That it does not matter in case of such services who the supplier is, who the recipient is. As far as the location is concerned, the place where the services are actually performed becomes the place of supply. So you can see that this place of the relevance of place of supply, it helps in removing any confusion, so that no state government starts fighting for the revenue because the rules are clear. So there is no question. So no question will come from Maharashtra that we should also get the revenue. No, if the act says that the place where the services are actually performed, the place of supply, then Maharashtra cannot object. So without any clash, in this case, the government will reach to that state to which it belongs. The revenue will reach to that state to which it belongs. Third service. Again, show me the act and let me show you the act. Next, third service. So these are all special services. Special in what sense? That these have their own rules and regulations. Now third is training services. The place of supply of services in relation to training and performance appraisal. Training. Now, you can companies can give training in how to prepare accountancy to the account staff. Company can arrange the services of any expert in GST to train the accounts department of that company in the provisions of GST. It's possible. Now, in this case, it does not matter where the training is provided. What matters is who the recipient is. So, training services to, this is the word to whom, clause A. If these services are given to a registered person, then it does not matter where the services are given. What matters is the location of the recipient. Then, location of the recipient is the place of supply. If these services are given to any person other than a registered person, then location of recipient doesn't matter now. Because if you are unregistered, then what is your location? No, doesn't matter. Then it depends where the services are actually performed. Now let me give you an example. Now these can come in numerical also. On this there can be a case study also. That first you have to determine the place of supply, then you have to give reasons also. Now this is my third specified service. Training services. So how to determine the place of supply in this case? Now who the recipient is? Is the recipient a registered person? Or the recipient is unregistered person? If the recipient is a registered person, then what matters is location of the recipient. If the recipient is not a registered person, then what matters is the place where the training service is provided. Example. First, Mr. X, a renowned GST expert and registered in New Delhi, has been hired by a renowned company, Y Limited, to train its employees. This company is in Mumbai, registered in Mumbai, registered in New Delhi, but Y Limited has its office in Odisha, in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. So the training has to be given at which place? Odisha. Here the office is. So this person has gone to Odisha to train the employees of this company. Do you know what is the place of supply? First, always you need to check whether section 12 is applicable or not. Yes, supplier is in India. Recipient is also in India. The place of supply in this case will be not Mumbai but Odisha, because recipient is a registered person. Sorry, not Odisha. Location of recipient is in Mumbai. Odisha will be the answer when this person is not registered. Mumbai is the answer. It does not matter where you provide the training. You will provide training in any state of India. But if someone is a registered person, then that location is the answer. If I make a change that this person is unregistered, let me assume that this person is unregistered, maybe in Mumbai but unregistered, and then the training service is provided in Odisha, then in that case the place of supply will not be Mumbai, then the place where the services are provided if unregistered, so that will be Odisha. This becomes the place of supply. I hope the point is clear. That's what. So now next service. Again, see the act. Next is admission. Admission tickets. When you go to any trade fair, when you go to any scientific event, when you go to any artistic event, dance competition, singing competition, so you have to pay some amount to purchase the tickets. This is that. Subsection 6 of section 12, the place of supply of service provided by way of admission to a cultural, artistic, sporting, scientific, sporting cricket stadium, when you go and purchase tickets while to watch the cricket. When you go to purchase tickets to watch race, car racing, sporting events, scientific events, educational events, entertainment events, dance competition, music shows, singing shows, or amusement park. In Mumbai also, when you go and visit any amusement park, maybe in Gurugram or any area or any other place, and the services ancillary thereto, that means all services related to this admission shall be the place where the event is actually held or where this park is located, whatever is the case. It is about admission ticket expense. So whatever you pay in admission to get admission in that park or in that event, on that admission ticket there is a GST. So who gets the revenue? That government where this event is being held. Example. Admission. It is admission in events, public parks. Then the place of supply is what? The place where event is held. Events are being held. Or parks are situated. Whatever is the case. If it is event, then check where event is held. If it is park, check where park is situated. Because I cannot write that where parks are held. So that is why it is a separate point. For events, I cannot say that events are situated. So that is why I am writing it separately. Otherwise, the concept is same as the case may be. So that we have to decide which language is suitable in that context. Example: music show is being held. A music show is being held by X company, X Limited, registered in Mumbai. Recipient Mr. Y from Punjab. But event is being held in Gurugram, Haryana. Admission ticket rupees 500. Per ticket 500, 5,000 is the admission ticket for this event. What is the place of supply? Which government gets the revenue? Haryana. It depends where the event is being held. It does not matter from where the people are coming to perform, who is the recipient. It does not matter where the recipient has come from. It matters where this event is being held. So this is an example. Haryana government gets the revenue 50%, 50% center. Second example. For example, Mr. Y from Punjab. सब पंजाब से आ रहे हैं घूमने फिरने. There is an amusement park in Gurugram. And admission ticket is being provided. This park is in Gurugram. The name is Gurugram में है ना? Seven Wonders, I think. कुछ ऐसा है. I forgotten the name. Anyhow, whatever is that. So X Limited is running this park. Maybe this park is a private park. For example, X Limited is running some shows in this park. Or maybe the park is beautiful where you have some entry ticket. So in this case, it does not matter that, for example, this supplier of admission ticket service is from Mumbai, Maharashtra, doesn't matter. The recipient from Punjab doesn't matter. Where the park is located, Gurugram, Haryana. So the place of supply is what? Haryana. I hope the point is clear. Now this is about admission. My next concept will not be admission, it will be organizing. Admission is a different thing. Admission means someone is providing you the admission ticket service. Like whenever circus is held, circus. Admission ticket counter is separate. The person who is performing in the circus is separate. So organizers are different from admission ticket people. Who are taking care of admission services are different from the organizers. So now this is organizing the events or sponsoring the event. Sponsoring the events. Like when in Shriram College, Crossroad is held, for example, annual function for the student, Crossroad is held in SRCC. So many companies sponsor the event. For example, ENY. For example, ENY sponsors the event and gives 30 lakh rupees to organize this Crossroad. So there will be some GST on 30 lakh rupees. Now it depends that what is the place of supply. Maybe ENY may be from Mumbai, SRCC from Delhi. But for example, Crossroad is being organized in Noida. It's possible that Crossroad is being organized in Noida. So first let me share with you the act, then I will simplify this. See this. of supply of services provided by way of clause A, organization of a cultural, artistic, sporting, scientific, educational or entertainment event, including supply of services in relation to a conference, fair, exhibition, celebration or similar event. So in this case, whichever event is this, the issue is organizing. So many event management companies organize the functions, or services which are related to organizing of such events, or assigning of sponsorship to such events. Whatever is the case, whether organizing or sponsoring any such event, to whom, now it depends who the recipient is. Is the recipient a registered person? If yes, the recipient is a registered person, then it does not matter where you are organizing the event. Location of registered person becomes the place of supply. And if the person is not a registered person, then it does not matter what is the location of this unregistered person. Then the place where the event is being organized or actually held becomes the place of supply. And in case the event is organized outside India, the place of supply shall be the location of the recipient. Now, let me start resuming the examples. Now, what is the place of supply in this case? It depends who the registered recipient is. Is the recipient a registered person or is the recipient unregistered? If the recipient is a registered person, then it does not matter where this event is being held. Location of recipient is the answer. If the recipient is unregistered, then it depends where the event is held. If the event is held in India, because government doesn't want to lose the revenue. If the event is held in India, then the place of supply is what? The place where event is held. If the event is held outside India, then it is not the place where event is held, because in that case government will lose the revenue. Then government says location of the recipient is the answer. Now, examples. First simple example. X Limited, Gujarat, an event management company, is organizing crossroad for an institution SRCC which is registered under GST laws in New Delhi. Registered in Gujarat and registered in New Delhi. Both are registered. But crossroad is being organized, for example, in Noida, UP. Organizing example, it's organizing event. Now, what is the place of supply in this case? As per section 12, because supplier in India, recipient in India. So section 12 is applicable for organizing the events. If the recipient is also registered, then it does not matter where the event is being organized. Location of recipient is the answer. New Delhi becomes the place of supply. Now, in the same case, event is not being organized in Noida. Event is being organized, not in Noida. SRCC, for example, is also not registered. For example, the institution is unregistered. For example, though it is registered, but for example, institution is unregistered. Event is in New Delhi, location is in New Delhi, unregistered. But event is being organized, let us assume Noida, UP itself. Supplier is same. Then what is the place of supply? Then since the recipient is unregistered, the place of supply will not be the location of recipient. The place of supply will be the place where the event is being held. UP becomes the place of supply. Third example. Same thing. The institution is unregistered. Unregistered. Though it is in New Delhi, unregistered. This time crossroad is being organized in Singapore. मजा आ जाए सिंगापुर में हो रहा है तो. This time or this is organized in Singapore. You all will be very happy. What is the place of supply? But Singapore government will not be happy. Or if Singapore government is happy, it doesn't matter. Indian government doesn't want to lose the revenue. Government says, in that case, though you are unregistered, but if event is held outside India, then Singapore will not be the place of supply for our purposes. New Delhi is the place of supply. You organize any event anywhere, you have to pay the tax there if supplier is in India and recipient is in India, because to make section 12 applicable, supplier as well as recipient must be in India. This is how you have to determine the place of supply, and this is the relevance of place of supply. It removes all the confusion and no dispute arises. No state will question. Like in this example, event is held in Noida, UP government get the revenue. Delhi government will not object that if this institution is in New Delhi, we should also get the revenue. No, the act is clear. So when act is clear, you don't have any scope to unnecessarily argue, except when the provisions are unconstitutional. That's it. This is the place of supply. I hope the point is clear, and thanks for today. So in the next class we will start with the next point. Goodbye.